This is going to be a safe Halloween trick-or-treat idea. We're going to start with a piece of PVC and a coffee can.
Half a gallon of water. Gotta have it liquid enough so you put the coal down through that.
So we're going to add a little bit more Quikrete because it's a little too runny. The best Quikrete would be the one that's more sand-based without gravel in it. That's why this pole's kind of being a little bit twitchity. And we're just gonna leave it there and let it harden up before I paint it. And we start working on it for decorations. I came out and washed my PVC off really good. I should have done that before I ever put it in the can because it just would have been easier. The black spray paint. So I'm kind of loving it because it looks tree trunkish, kind of Halloweenish. I don't know what color this is going to turn out in the video for y'all, but it looks pretty good here in person. That's what we're going to go with. Old wrapping paper, so I just took it. There you see, it's Merry Christmas. It was only 18 inches wide, and I'm needing to work off the base of the 24-inch wide for that piece of board over there. It is a super thin piece of plywood, just to let you know what I'm working on and working with, and we'll be cutting. I've sprayed a light coat of primer on it to where when I paint it, it won't just use all my acrylics up. But this is what I'm gonna try to do. I've measured this out to 24 inches because you basically start an octagon with the outer 4 edges, in my mind, that they would be the kind of like a square. The 4 sides would be the square. So, my scissors are decent enough. I'm cutting all of it at one time. And then we'll unfold this bad boy while I'm on camera. So if I screwed the pooch on this deal, y'all just know that you can make mistakes and you can start all over again. Get that out of the way. Let's unfold this bad boy and see if I got me a stop sign. Woo, woo! Yeah! I do. I got a stop sign, y'all. Let me flip it over. I'm leaving this small portion here because we'll be cutting it out, and I'm cutting slats because it's going to slide down in my tube, which you'll see all that later, y'all. But look at this. I'm talking, that makes my heart happy. Y'all, I didn't even have to cut it and redo paper or nothing. I am so excited. So what I will do now is I'm going to probably just tape this down a little bit and trace around it because I'll have to get the saw and go outside. I've got my stop sign drawn out on here after cutting it. I've got all my angles for the edges that need to be trimmed. And what I want to do is go ahead and place my letters on it for what I want it to say. And I just used, when I used my Cricut the other day, I just had some old, really cheap, crappy contact paper, like shelf contact paper from the dollar store. So I'm gonna measure out my lines of where I want them and the space I need in between them. I'm gonna peel them and stick them because since I have it primered, I wanna paint my red over it. And then I'm gonna peel these off and I'll have it primered to where I can paint my letters in white. Because I'm gonna have the sucker stop. And it's gonna go on top of our pole, which, yes, eventually I will get to that and you will see some of that. So, I know everybody's seeing that upside down. I'll flip that around. It's gonna say sucker stop. And just so you can see it, and I'll probably show it again once we get it cut and it's out there on the pole. I'm gonna cut this right here and like right here. We're gonna run slat cuts right here. This board will go away, that board will go away. It'll leave a piece here, a piece here. And then the piece in the middle will slide down in the pole. I'm gonna cut slats in my pole to where this will give it some durability to where it'll stay up there and not fall down. So, with that being said, I'm fixing to put these letters on here. I'm gonna measure it out to make sure I have them the right distance apart and stick them so I can paint over it. I've stuck my letters down. They're not sticking real well because of the primer that's on this board. To make this be easy to where it will, I'll just use like the tip of a knife or my X-Acto knife to peel my letters up. But where the red paint that I'm fixing to paint on this won't bleed, I'm gonna coat my letters, since they're not sticking super well, to help them do that. I'm just gonna coat this in Mod Podge. Now I'm sure you could liquid down some Elmer's glue a little bit with water or something and it would probably work and seal the same. But this is what I had here at the house today, and so this is what I'm going with. And it may make my red paint look a little bit different. If that bothers you, coat the whole thing with it. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not gonna waste that much because it's gonna be on my front porch. It's gonna be something that's kind of seen from a distance, not really up close, except maybe by children for Halloween or at Christmas time, whichever you choose to use this for. I currently am painting my pole that's going to hold this black and going with a Halloween theme for it. But if you wanted to leave the pole a neutral color or a white, and black would work for Christmas, you just have to wrap it like maybe in a little bit of red ribbon or buffalo check, something like that. And you could still have this on your front porch if you had kids coming and going in and out at Christmas time. Because I actually got this idea for this little project because I have a sign on my front porch that says Santa Stop, and it's a stop sign and it lights up and it's super cute. My Mod Podge has dried. I've mixed my red paints. I took one that was a little bit of a lighter red, had a pinky tone to it, and I put a fiery red in with it. I think it's gonna make a beautiful stop sign color. Mixing paints. If you're gonna do a project, especially when it's a big project like this, try to make sure you've mixed enough paint to do the whole project, because going back and remixing and trying to make more of it later doesn't always turn out the exact same shade. If it's something like this outside sign that doesn't really matter to me, it's no big deal, but I have tried to mix enough, and that's just a styrofoam plate that I'm putting it in to make sure I have enough. That's the first coat of red that I've gotten on there. And see, it's kind of splotchy and you can still see my primer through it. But I just painted straight over the letters like that. I did want to take a quick second and show you, air is not a friend of paint. And since I'm gonna let that dry, I just took another paper, well, it's actually styrofoam plate. We made some of the final cuts. And if you can tell, this one I didn't have him cut quite as high up as that one, because the top of my pipe did not get cut evenly, so it's a little bit off no matter what. And so I left it like that. You can also tell in my blog post, I mentioned that I should have flipped it over and drew my whole stop sign on the back to where I could have let him cut back there, because I drew my lines here and he had to cut with the saw, so it's jacked up my red a little bit. I'm gonna have to go back and touch that up. but I want to get my letters off that are holding the spot, which I could have done this one of two ways. I could have done the letters and not had to use Mod Podge if I'd wanted to paint this whole area white first instead of leaving it primered gray. But I didn't do that. I left it primered gray, and I'm gonna have to go back now and paint it white, which probably may not be as cool and crisp and clean as what it would have looked the other way.
Alright, now I gotta break that off.
Okay, we cut the little slat out of the top where the lights have just stuck in because I've doubled the cord. I divided it in half after I attached it down at the bottom. It's all wrapped around my pole, and all we have to do is drill our spots, and then we will stick our sign in here in these slats. And then I made slats on the bottom of the sign, and we will see how our sucker stop pole's gonna work. And I am doing it up this first go round for Halloween, and then I'll show you some other ideas. So I started the drilling process, but I'm about out of daylight. As y'all can see, the sun's setting here, and I'm on the back porch trying to work on this just a bit. I've got the lights wrapped around my pole so I can kind of see where I want my suckers to go. I'm using a 7/64 drill bit, and I'm using Dum Dum suckers, which I think everybody in America probably knows what Dum Dums are. I'm kind of wallowing the hole out to make sure that it's gonna go in, and so far it's going in every hole that I've done. I will tell you my drill has slipped a couple times, so it's nicking my black paint. Now when I get the suckers in, we'll see how that looks. If I need to touch it up, I've got a can of black spray paint. I can always come back and hit it again. But that's how the process is going, and it's doing pretty good because I've kind of got it going on like a little bit of an angle, but I'm not gonna be super picky about it. They are gonna fit, it is gonna work, but it's for another day. So there's the lights for our pole. I've already got them kind of measured out and how I wanted them on it. I did pull them off because I started making some of the drill holes at the bottom, and as you can see, the plastic was falling everywhere. I went ahead and took a paintbrush and dotted where I want to drill my holes. One thing I do want to get on camera to see, hopefully you can see it, is I am learning that you're better off to drill at the beginning, just pretty much straight on and slow a little, because it wants to wobble because of the roundness of the pipe. Watch your fingers and hands in case it does slip. But I start out going straight, and then I start a little bit of an angle on it. And wallow it just a little bit because that's what it's took for my suckers. Okay, so after drilling most of my holes with this post standing up, I laid it down for the top because it was killing my shoulder. Y'all, this is much faster. It goes so much faster. Just lay it down. I'm working on my sucker stop sign this morning, trying to wrap this up. I have used 2 or 3 different drill bits trying to figure out what size will be perfect to put these little lights through. I think I've about figured it out, and I am going to use a 3/16. That's the drill bit I have on here right now. So what I did with my lights, this was a 50 strand light, and I ran out of binder clips because the binder clips were working much better than just clothespins, but I ran out. So I have clothespins, and I measured it all the way around. I started over here in this corner, and I measured it all the way around, and then I ran it back. And I think it's going to be pretty perfect once I get them stretched a little bit, because they've been in the box, and you know how they The wires are kind of still all kinked up from being in a box. But once I get my holes drilled to where I'm going to stick my lights through, I think it's going to be great. And then my sign will light up that we're at the sucker stop. I'm going to drill one hole at a time where I can put my light in it and stretch it as I go to where I've got them spaced apart appropriately and correctly. And that way it'll do my whole sign, hopefully. That's gonna fit perfect. I'm excited about where this is headed, and I'm just gonna keep going a hole at a time. Yeah, this is how you work and you wing it with a girl like me. I'll put my lights on the front side instead of the back as I go to measure it out. That's what we're gonna do as we mark these one by one by putting these in here to where I don't splinter the wrong side of my sign. That's that stretched really good. And then I'll do one at a time and drop them in and know exactly where to drill. Yes, it's gonna take a little longer, but I think this is the best way for me to figure this out, how to make it stretch and make all my stuff fit. So this is how we're fixing to roll with it. And if something changes, I'll pop back on here and let you know. I put my lights in on the front side. They will go on the back, but just to show you, the only place that I'm a little bit off of not having enough to go around the whole thing twice was if I had measured this, this would have done better right here. And I can still go and straighten some of that out, but probably not since I've drilled holes. If I was a measuring girl on everything, this would have worked out perfect and I would have had one right there, but I have a hole. It's a Halloween decoration, or it's for birthdays or Christmases or whatever. If this hole bothers you a lot, do something with yours to where it doesn't do that, but it ain't gonna bug me because it's gonna be on the front porch, and I still may in my pole put some decorations so it may hide all that anyway. But so far, this is how it worked out. I just used a Sharpie and marked it as I went and drilled a couple holes at a time because I didn't know how my lights were gonna stretch. I'm gonna leave them like this for a little bit because I've got a couple other things I'm working on today, and see if it'll stretch my wires a little bit more to where they don't pull so tight. And for the ones that do pull tight that I think might pop out after I get them on the back, I'll probably just take a piece of duct tape and tape them on the back to where they'll stay. This is going to be a battery operated, not a plug-in deal, so I don't have a lot of cords hanging on to this one. And I'll just stick that at the bottom down here like in my pole to give you an idea of where that will go. But I'm gonna jump off here because I got a few other projects that I'm working on today, and we're gonna try to wrap up doing some of the safety ideas that I'm throwing out there for Halloween, to where you don't have to have trick-or-treaters be so hands-on and everything. And this is a great idea for even like baby showers, birthday parties, and Christmas, that you can put suckers in your pole, redecorate your pole. I'm gonna do Halloween lights on this one, and then I may also trick it out for Christmas just a little bit and show you what you could do, especially if you're having a Christmas party and you want to do something fun for your guests. But that's all for the moment. I've brought my sign up on a couple of books that are under here. I've laid my battery pack up in the back, which I will probably, after I put it in my pole, fix it right here. And of course I'll stick the wires down in there. I don't know, I may leave it up there where it's easier for me to hit. But anyway, because my wire is so taut in a few of these, they're wanting to pull and pop back out. So I am fixing to take the hot glue gun and just put a little dab here and there, because I want to reuse this strand of lights on another project after Halloween's over. Therefore, I don't want a lot of hot glue to ruin them. But that's how I'm going to be able to keep my lights in the holes, because there are a few of them that are starting to try to pull out. Like over there, some of them staying good. And I could drill the hole bigger, but I don't want them sticking all the way through. Probably never come out, because the hubs didn't think this would be a hot enough glue gun. It's hot enough to burn my finger when I touch it barely. But he didn't think it'd melt my lights. It's melted the lights in where I have touched it up. I don't know if you can see that or not. This is how our sucker stop turned out. Little display at the bottom. You could even move it out here if you wanted it further, like by the sidewalk. But I'm quite proud. I think it looks pretty cute. I'm gonna stick a little disclaimer on here. After this was sitting here last night, a little wind through the night. I wanted to see how it would do. The sign was still in it, but it just almost broke my sign. I don't know if you can see right here. A couple of my lights kind of popped out that I didn't hit with the hot glue gun yesterday. But all in all, my can held together very well. I only lost like a couple of suckers. So that did pretty dang good. What I will suggest, and I am going to put in my post, is if you're gonna leave this out, which I don't really recommend with suckers overnight. We just ended up not getting everything back up off our porch before I get the rest of my displays built. I suggest bungeeing it. I mean, I've got shutters over there and I could put it closer to the wall where the wind might not get it. And I don't know if you can tell, wind-wise, we've got a little bit going today, if you look at the flags. But what I probably would do if I was gonna leave this out for a day or two and leave it set up, which I don't plan on just leaving it on the front porch the whole time, because it is more for like the trick-or-treaters. And it might need touching up with a little black paint. Looks like it got a couple scrapes when it took a knock. I would probably set it down here or right here and strap it to my post.